The church bells rang, harmonizing with the laughter and cheers that filled the air. It was a picture, perfect day, every detail precisely as I had imagined. My heart fluttered with excitement as I looked into Richard's eyes, those deep blue wells that once promised a lifetime of love and devotion. His mother sat in the front row, her eyes like two polished emeralds, twinkling with a strange light. I remember thinking how beautifully her green eyes contrasted with her silver hair. She smiled, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes as she watched us exchange vows. "To love and to cherish," Richard had said, his voice trembling with emotion. Or was it something else? The moment passed, and I was Mrs. Margaret Fielding, blissfully unaware of the shadows lurking behind the joyous facade. Our honeymoon was a whirlwind of romance, stolen kisses, and whispered promises. But the real world awaited, and with it came our decision to move in with Richard's mother. Her house was grand, filled with memories and expensive trinkets. She welcomed us with open arms, a feast prepared in our honor. The toasts were made, the laughter shared, yet something felt off. The way her eyes would narrow when she looked at me, the subtle hints of disapproval, the veiled comments about my family's modest background. "We're so lucky to have Margaret, Mother," Richard would say, oblivious to the underlying tension. "Indeed," she would reply, her voice dripping with something I couldn't quite place. Very lucky. As the days turned into weeks, the illusion began to crack. The affectionate mother-in-law was replaced by a stern, demanding woman, quick to criticize and slow to praise. "Why this dress, Margaret?" she would ask, her voice cold and disapproving. "Surely you can afford something better now." Richard's behavior, too, began to change. The tender, loving husband was gradually replaced by an indifferent man, echoing his mother's criticisms, adopting her attitudes. "You really should listen to Mother," he would say, his voice devoid of warmth. "She knows best." The love and passion that once ignited our relationship were replaced by a chilling coldness. The man I had married was slipping away, and in his place, a stranger was emerging, shaped and molded by his mother's will. I tried to shake off the growing unease, dismissing it as mere adjustments to our new life. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The glimmers of greed in his mother's eyes, the way her words were laced with hidden barbs, the transformation in Richard. They were all signs of a storm brewing. But love is often blind, and I was blinded by hope, by the belief that the love we had was strong enough to weather any storm. I was wrong. The illusion of bliss was just that, an illusion. And as the days turned into months, the facade began to crumble, revealing the twisted reality that lay beneath. Little did I know that my life was about to take a dark and painful turn, that the man I loved was a mere puppet in his mother's hands, and that I was trapped in a web of deceit and manipulation. The stage was set, and the players were in place. The real drama was about to begin. The days fell into a rhythm, a relentless beat of rising tensions and hidden cruelty. Breakfasts were a minefield of veiled insults, lunches a series of disparaging remarks, and dinners a theater of passive, aggressive behavior. "You must learn how to cook, my dear," Richard's mother would say, her tone dripping with disdain as she picked at my carefully prepared meal. "A woman must know her way around the kitchen." Richard's laughter would join hers, and I would smile, a hollow smile that hid the sting of their words. "Perhaps you should take lessons from Mother," he'd suggest, his eyes cold and unfeeling. And so it went, day after day, a constant barrage of criticism and humiliation. I tried to adjust, to fit into their world. I took cooking lessons, wore the clothes they approved of, even changed the way I spoke. But nothing was ever enough. The goalposts kept shifting, and with every step I took to please them, they demanded more. I sought refuge in my little garden, the one place where I could escape their prying eyes. I planted flowers, tended to them with love and care, their blossoms a fleeting respite from the harsh reality of my life. "I'm glad you have found a hobby," Richard's mother would say, her eyes scanning my garden with a critical eye. "It's good for a woman to keep busy." Her words were a slap, a reminder that I was nothing more than a project to be molded and shaped to her liking. The red flags were there, growing more apparent with each passing day. Richard's indifference turned to cruelty, his mother's disapproval to outright hostility. "You must be more careful with spending," Richard would snap, scrutinizing the grocery bills. "We can't afford your frivolous desires." "But it's just a simple dress," I'd protest, tears welling in my eyes. "Simple or not, it's unnecessary," he'd retort, his voice cold and unyielding. I became a prisoner in my own home, every move monitored, every decision questioned. Friends stopped visiting, their concern met with hostility and suspicion. "What do they want from us?" Richard's mother would sneer. "Why do they meddle in our affairs?" I felt isolated, trapped in a never-ending cycle of abuse and manipulation. My confidence was shattered, my self-esteem eroded, my dreams crushed under the weight of their expectations. I kept hoping, praying that things would change, that Richard would see the truth and stand by me. But he was lost to me, a stranger wearing the face of the man I once loved. And his mother. She was the puppet master, pulling the strings, her evil smile hidden behind a mask of feigned concern and folks' affection. The stage was set, the players locked in their roles, the game reaching its critical point. A storm was brewing, a storm that would rip apart the facade and lay bare the twisted reality behind closed doors. The breaking point was near, and I was caught in the eye of the storm, a storm that would either break me or set me free. Little did I know that a simple purchase, a mere $10 spent on cosmetics, would be the catalyst that would set everything in motion. The real drama was about to begin, and I was ready to play my part. It began with a simple purchase, a mere $10 spent on a bottle of cosmetics I needed. It was a small act of self-care, a way to feel beautiful amidst the relentless attacks on my self-worth, but it was a spark that ignited a fire. I returned home, the shopping bag discreetly tucked under my arm, a secret smile playing on my lips. But secrets have a way of unraveling, and my secret was about to be exposed. Richard's mother found the bag, her eyes narrowing as she pulled out the small bottle, her face twisted into a mask of rage, her voice rising to a venomous shriek. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice dripping with contempt. "You dare to spend money on such frivolous things." I tried to explain, to justify the purchase, but words failed me. Her anger was a tidal wave, sweeping away reason and logic. "You worthless girl!" she screamed, her face contorted with fury. "How dare you waste our money?" Her hand shot out, a sharp slap landing on my cheek. The world spun, the pain a physical manifestation of the humiliation I felt. Richard stood by, a grin on his face, his eyes alight with a cruel satisfaction. He joined his mother, their voices merging into a chorus of hate and scorn. I stood there, tears streaming down my face, a realization dawning upon me. This was my life, a never-ending cycle of abuse and degradation. And I had allowed it to happen, but no more. That slap was a wake-up call, a jolt that shook me out of my complacency. I looked in the mirror, the red mark on my cheek, a stark reminder of my reality. I was no longer the naive girl who had walked down the aisle, dreams of love and happiness dancing in her eyes. I was a woman scorned, a woman wronged, a woman ready to fight back. My marriage was a sham, my husband a stranger, his mother an evil, controlling witch, and I was their victim, a plaything to be used and discarded at will. but no more. I knew what I had to do. I would no longer be a passive observer in my own life. I would take control, fight back, and reclaim my dignity. I installed hidden cameras, their unblinking eyes capturing the reality of my life. Every insult, every slap, every humiliating act was recorded, evidence of their true nature. I bided my time, waiting for the right moment, the moment when I would turn the tables on them. The day came, the evidence in hand, a newfound determination in my heart. I confronted them, their faces paling as they watched the video, their own words and actions exposed for all to see. Their begging began, their pleas for mercy, their promises to change. But it was too late. I had seen their true faces, and there was no going back. I took the evidence to the police, my voice steady, my resolve unshaken. The wheels of justice began to turn, their fate sealed by their own actions. I was no longer their victim. I was a survivor, a fighter, a woman who had found her strength. The trial awaited, the courtroom a battlefield, the verdict a vindication of my truth. I was ready to face them, ready to win. The illusion had been shattered, the reality exposed. And I was ready to take back my life, ready to take my revenge. The real drama was about to begin, and I was ready to play my part. The day of reckoning approached, the courtroom looming large in my mind. Lawyers were consulted, evidence reviewed, the stage set for a battle unlike any I had ever faced. Richard and his mother were relentless, their threats and bribes a desperate attempt to sway me. But I was resolute, my mind clear, my heart set on justice. "You can't win," Richard sneered, his eyes cold and unfeeling. "You're nothing without me. I am everything I need to be," I shot back, my voice steady, my confidence unshaken. His mother's eyes were hard, her voice dripping with malice. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You'll regret crossing us." "I already regret marrying your son," I replied, my words a weapon, my truth a shield. The battle lines were drawn, the players locked in their roles, the game reaching its critical point. The courtroom was a stage, the judge a stern overseer, the jury a collection of watchful eyes. I took the stand, my heart pounding, my palms slick with sweat. The prosecutor was a seasoned veteran, his questions precise, his manner professional. I answered with clarity, the hidden camera's footage playing on a screen, a visual testament to my truth. Richard's lawyer was aggressive, his questions an attack, his demeanor confrontational. But I held my ground, my words, my armor, my resolve, my strength. "You spent money without consulting your husband," he accused, his voice laced with contempt. "I spent money I earned on something I needed," I countered, my voice calm and composed. "You provoked them," he insisted, his eyes narrowed in accusation. "I defended myself," I replied, my eyes meeting his, my truth unassailable. The trial wore on, days turning into weeks, the tension mounting, the verdict a looming specter. Richard and his mother took the stand, their lies a twisted web, their faces masks of innocence. But the evidence was clear, their own words and actions betraying them. "You slapped her," the prosecutor accused, his voice hard and unyielding. "She deserved it," Richard's mother spat, her eyes blazing with hatred. "You stood by and watched," the prosecutor turned to Richard, his voice cold and unforgiving. "She needed to be taught a lesson," Richard replied, his voice devoid of remorse. Their true nature was exposed, their masks slipping, their lies unraveling. The jury deliberated, the hours dragging on, the verdict a weight on my shoulders. I waited, my breath held, my mind a whirlwind of hope and fear. The verdict was read, the words embalmed my soul, a vindication of my truth. Guilty. The courtroom erupted, Richard's mother's face twisted in rage, Richard's eyes wide with disbelief. The judge was stern, his words condemnation, his sentence a triumph. "You are hereby ordered to pay compensation of $50,000, he declared, his voice echoing through the courtroom. I sat there, tears of relief streaming down my face, the weight of the world lifted from my shoulders. Justice had been served, my dignity restored, my strength reclaimed. I was free, free from their clutches, free to rebuild my life, free to be me. The battle was won, the victory sweet, the revenge complete. I walked out of that courtroom, my head held high, my heart light, the shadows of the past left behind. I was Margaret, a survivor, a fighter, a woman who had found her strength, and I was ready to face the world, ready to begin anew, ready to embrace the future. The real drama was over, and I had played my part. I had won. The courtroom doors closed behind me, the echoes of the trial fading, the reality of my victory settling in. I stood alone, the weight of the past years lifting, the shackles of my former life breaking. Richard and his mother were defeated, their reign of terror ended, their cruelty exposed. The compensation was a material win, but the true victory lay in the reclaiming of myself, worth, the restoration of my dignity, the rebirth of my identity. I looked in the mirror, my reflection a testament to my transformation. The timid, broken girl was gone, replaced by a strong, confident woman. The red mark on my cheek had faded, but the lessons learned were etched in my soul. I filed for divorce, the legal documents a formality, the emotional severance already complete. I left the house that had been my prison, the walls that had witnessed my pain. I found a small apartment, a place of my own, a sanctuary where I could heal and rebuild. I surrounded myself with reminders of my strength, tokens of my journey, symbols of my triumph. I reconnected with old friends, their support a balm to my wounded heart, their laughter a melody that awakened my joy. I rediscovered my passions, the things that made me feel alive, the hobbies and interests that had been stifled and suppressed. I embraced my freedom, the ability to make choices, the right to be myself, the power to shape my destiny. I was Margaret, no longer defined by my marriage, no longer confined by my past, no longer restrained by fear. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, the memories of the past fading, the possibilities of the future beckoning. I found a new job, a place where my intelligence and kindness were valued, where I could grow and thrive. I started dating again, cautiously at first, then with a renewed sense of hope and excitement. I met people who saw me for who I truly was, who appreciated my strength and admired my resilience. I found love again, a love that was gentle and respectful, a love that was nurturing and empowering, a love that was true and pure. I found happiness again, a happiness that was deep and fulfilling, a happiness that was mine and mine alone. I found myself again, a self that was whole and complete, a self that was strong and confident, a self that was ready to embrace life with open arms. Life is a story, a tale of triumphs and failures, a narrative of joys and sorrows, a journey of growth and transformation. I had faced adversity, endured pain, overcome challenges, and emerged victorious. I had taken revenge, not through spite or malice, but through justice and truth. I had found redemption, not through denial or escape, but through acceptance and healing. I had written my story, a story of strength and resilience, a story of rebirth and redemption, a story of Margaret. The chapters of my past were closed, the pages of my future blank and waiting, the pen in my hand, ready to write the next phase of my life. And I was ready to face the unknown, ready to embrace the adventure, ready to live my life, my way. The real drama was over, the play complete, the final curtain drawn. I was Margaret,